All right, joining me now here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is Kevin Gosztola. Kevin is a journalist who writes the great Dissenter blog at FireDogLake, which you can find at dissenter.firedoglake.com. He is also the co-author of the book Truth and Consequences, the U.S. versus Bradley Manning. You can also find him on Twitter at kgosztola. Kevin, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you.
All right, so Kevin, you are currently, as we talk, at Fort Meade in Maryland for the trial of Bradley Manning, specifically a defense motion that alleges unlawful pre-trial punishment. Most listeners are aware of the Bradley Manning case, but if they aren't, give us just a little bit of background on who exactly Bradley Manning is and why he's on trial.
Yeah, and just quickly, just to kind of correct you, the trial starts in March. And what we're in is, so he started his court-martial in February of this year when he was arraigned. So what we're going through is a bunch of rigmarole where the defense has to, trot out these motions because Manning's process rights have been violated, and we're getting to issues of mistreatment. And so for people, Bradley Manning, of course, is a soldier who's been accused of releasing troves of classified information to WikiLeaks. And some of those that people might know from headlines are the collateral murder video, the Iraq war logs, the Afghanistan war logs, the U.S. State Embassy cables, each of these showing a range of war crimes, corruption, diplomats dealing on behalf of corporations, people going behind each other in international relations, and just the sort of underhanded stuff that probably we wouldn't want our leaders to be engaging in. That was a lot of what came out in this information. And then also the military operations in Iraq and Afghanistan showing, how we were looking the other way when torture was being engaged in, and etc. And so Bradley Manning is here. He's in these proceedings because he has 22 charges that he is faced with. Most of them, at least 10 of them, have to do with violations of the the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So, and then additionally, he's charged with exceeding his access on a computer, and also the main charge, the one that I think deserves the most attention, the aiding the enemy charge.
Right, which carries possible death sentence, correct?
Sure. If the government wanted to, they could bring it, but so far they've said they're only going to ask for a life sentence if he's convicted. And, we take them at their word, which I don't know how good that is, but, we should focus on the content of the charge, just so people know briefly what they're saying is that Bradley Manning, by providing this information to WikiLeaks, indirectly aided al-Qaeda, and I can say that because they've actually played the video inside of a pretrial hearing of an al-Qaeda lead propagandist talking about his opinion of how the WikiLeaks documents were beneficial to terrorist operations. So they're trying to put that on Manning.
Again, it's not the fact that these original war crimes and all the original horrible things that have done. It's not that's not the problem. It's the fact that somebody actually exposed all these horrible things.
Yeah. And that's the larger conversation here, is how they've pursued these extreme federal charges that could keep Manning in jail until he dies, basically. If they're not going to give him a death sentence, they'll give him a slow death sentence in a military brig somewhere.
Right. Well, so we're in the hearing has been going on for a little since November now, and a lot has actually come out. Manning actually testified. What are some of the things that the trial has come out? Like what are some of the? Because obviously. The way he was treated, it amounts to, in my opinion, torture in many ways. What has actually come out from the trial in terms of Manning's confinement?
Yeah, in total, it's been incredible as a journalist who's followed this closely, because Bradley Manning, as you said, took the stand. He was there. He described being arrested. So to take everyone briefly through the timeline, he's arrested May 27, 2010. He ends up being moved to this camp called Camp Arifjan in Kuwait. He's there, and while he's there, he ends up going through what I think might have been more terrifying than any of the confinement conditions experienced in Quantico in Virginia, because he talks about how he was put in what he called an animal cage when he first got there, and he's there, and his cage, like, then they moved him out, and he was sort of in general population, and then they took him and put him back all by himself in this cage-like space, and it's not very big, and there he explained that there were officers that would come in and do shakedowns, and they would run into his cage and just throw shit all over, and then they'd just run out, and he'd look around, and he's like, I don't know what's going on here, I'm not sure what they're looking for. They're pretty much just trying to intimidate him, obviously. And so this is the life that he had, and he became a really mentally disturbed person. He talked about how he lost sight of what he was experiencing. He had no connection to the world. He's somebody who said profoundly that he needs current events. He needs to know what's going on, the news of the day, and he couldn't have that connection while he was in this cage. And so he started to have anxiety attacks, and he's seeing a psychiatrist, and he's making nooses out of his sheet, and that's freaking the military officers out. And so then he's, eventually he's transferred to Quantico, but all of this has happened, and it becomes a part of his record that really makes it hard for the brig to take him and put him in normal conditions. At least that's their justification that they've been putting forward throughout the whole time that each one of them has been testifying here during these pretrial hearings. So Manning described this treatment, and he talks about coming to Quantico, and this was very profound as well, because he said, I thought I was going to be moved to Guantanamo or Djibouti, because nobody had given him formal charges yet, and he didn't know what they were going to do with him. And so in his mind, he's wondering if he's even going to end up in the continental United States when they move him. And when he lands, and this is one of my favorite aspects of this story, when he lands, he's not even taken in like an official military vehicle to the to Quantico. He actually gets into a rented Dodge Charger, and he's got two people who I'm not sure I don't know who they were, but they've got Google Maps, and they're trying to find their way to Quantico, and it's just another aspect of the military dealing with Manning that just shows you, there's all levels here that have been involved in Manning's confinement and case.